The night in Tampa didn't begin with music. It began with a feeling, something unspoken yet unmistakable that moved through the air like a quiet storm building strength. Outside Raymond James Stadium, thousands of fans gathered hours before the gates opened, their voices blending into a constant hum of anticipation. Some clutched banners, others held their light sticks close to their hearts, but all of them carried the same expectation. Tonight would be unforgettable. They were right. But what no one knew, what no one could have possibly prepared for, was that Jungkook had something planned, something bigger than a performance. As the sky darkened and the stadium lights slowly came alive, the energy shifted. Inside, the massive arena transformed into a galaxy of glowing lights, each one representing a fan who had waited, hoped, and dreamed of this very moment. The stage sat in the center, a 360-degree structure that promised closeness, connection, and something immersive, something different. The music hadn't started yet, but the story already had. When the first sound finally echoed through the stadium, it didn't come gently. It arrived like a shockwave, deep bass vibrating through the seats, climbing up through the floor, into the bodies of every person present. The screens flickered to life, and the crowd erupted instantly, their voices rising into a deafening roar that seemed to shake the entire structure. Then came the light. A single spotlight cut through the darkness and landed at the center of the stage. And there he was, Jungkook. Screams, tears, shout. Some fans froze, unable to process what they were seeing. Others jumped, cried, reached out as if distance itself could be broken. Because Jungkook wasn't just performing. He was radiating something powerful, something that pulled every eye, every emotion toward him. Song after song, the energy built. The stage shifted beneath his feet, lights exploding in synchronized patterns, visuals wrapping around the stadium like a living thing. He moved across the extended runways, coming closer to different sections of the audience, making each fan feel seen, even in a crowd of tens of thousands. And yet, despite all the intensity, there was a strange sense that something else was coming, something hidden beneath the surface. Halfway through the performance, the music began to slow. The transitions grew softer, more deliberate. The lighting dimmed slightly, turning the massive stadium into a more intimate space. It was subtle, but noticeable, the kind of shift that makes people lean forward, that makes hearts beat just a little faster. No choreography, no dramatic movement. Just him. He lifted the microphone, but for a moment, he didn't speak. He simply looked out into the crowd, not past them, into them, as if searching for something, as if trying to hold onto the energy being thrown back at him from every direction. The silence grew, and then, softly, he began. His voice didn't explode this time. It didn't demand attention. It invited it. Gentle, raw, almost fragile, but unmistakably powerful. The kind of voice that doesn't need volume to be heard, because it carries emotion so clearly that it cuts through everything else. Fans immediately felt the change. The screaming softened into quiet sobs. The energy shifted from explosive excitement to something deeper, something more personal. Phones lowered slightly. People stopped moving. They listened. And that's when the first hint of the surprise appeared. The melody was unfamiliar. It wasn't one of the songs fans expected. It wasn't part of the rumored set list. There was confusion at first, glances exchanged between friends, whispers spreading through the crowd. What song is this? But as Jungkook continued, something clicked. The lyrics. They were new. Not just rarely performed, completely new. The realization spread like wildfire. You could feel it almost physically as the energy in the stadium shifted again. Fans gasped. Some covered their mouths in disbelief. Others started crying harder, not because they were sad, but because they understood what this meant. This wasn't just a performance anymore. This was a reveal. Jungkook was debuting something no one had heard before, and he was doing it here, in front of them. The weight of that moment settled over the crowd like a wave. Every word he sang felt heavier, more meaningful, as if each lyric carried a piece of something deeply personal. His voice trembled slightly in certain parts, not from weakness, but from emotion that couldn't be fully contained. This wasn't rehearsed perfection. This was real. The stadium, once filled with deafening noise, now felt almost silent. Not because people weren't reacting, but because they were holding everything in, trying to absorb every second, every note, every feeling before it disappeared. Because they knew, moments like this don't repeat. As the song built toward its peak, the instrumentation grew stronger. Layers of sound wrapped around his voice, lifting it higher, pushing it further. And Jungkook responded, his vocals rising with the music, growing more intense, more powerful, until it felt like everything, every light, every sound, every heartbeat in the stadium was moving in sync. And then came the climax. A final note, held longer than expected, stronger than expected. And when it ended, there was no immediate reaction. Just silence. Jungkook stood there, breathing heavily, his chest rising and falling as he looked out at the crowd. There was a softness in his expression now, something quieter, more vulnerable than the powerful performer from earlier. He smiled, and in that smile, there was relief, as if he had just shared something he had been holding on to for a long time. The rest of the concert continued, but everything felt different after that moment. Every song carried new weight. Every movement, every glance, every interaction felt more meaningful, more connected. Fans weren't just watching anymore. They were part of it. And Jungkook knew it. At one point, he moved closer to the edge of the stage again, crouching down as he reached out toward the fans. Hands stretched toward him, trembling, desperate to close the distance even by an inch. The connection was almost overwhelming, an invisible thread linking performer and audience in a way that felt impossible to break. The energy surged again, but now it wasn't just excitement. It was gratitude, mutual, unspoken, but deeply understood. As the concert moved toward its final moments, the lights softened once more. The music slowed, guiding the audience gently toward the end of the night. But even as the performance approached its conclusion, no one wanted it to end. Because they knew they had witnessed something rare. Something that would be talked about, replayed, remembered. Not just because it was impressive, but because it was real. When the final song ended and Jungkook stood alone under the fading lights, he didn't rush to leave. He stayed for a moment, looking out at the sea of fans who had given him everything, and who had just received something in return. He bowed deeply, and the crowd responded with everything they had left. The lights went out. The music stopped. Outside the stadium, fans poured into the night, their voices buzzing with disbelief, excitement, emotion. Social media lit up within minutes. Videos, reactions, theories, messages trying to describe something that didn't fit easily into words. He dropped a new song. I was there. I can't believe this happened. Across platforms, across countries, across time zones, the moment spread. Not as a simple clip or headline, but as an experience, something shared, something felt, something bigger than a single performance. Because what happened in Tampa wasn't just a surprise. It was a statement. Jungkook wasn't just returning to the stage. He was redefining it. And if this was only the beginning of the world tour, then one truth became impossible to ignore. Army wasn't ready. Not for this. Not for what was coming next.